original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Question Reality. Question Reality with Priscilla Leona. Priscilla Leona. Only on LA Talk Radio.
Hi, I'm Priscilla Leona, and we are coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. Our show is broadcast every Sunday from 5 p.m. to 5:50 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, our show will help you to question your career reality. Now, this show is for you if you were, are, or might be considering a career in the entertainment industry. Our guests will provide tips, advice, and resource information on how and what it takes to successfully pursue a career in show business. Our guests work in various professions of entertainment, so that means that we will definitely have someone on the show sooner or later from a career that you are interested. If you want to check out our past guests, read their bios, listen to their interview instantly, or download one of our past shows, go to the LA Talk Radio website. That's latalkradio.com. And if you're listening to me live, you're already there. So go to the top of the website, click the link that says Channel 1, scroll down and look for the graphic of our show, Question Reality, and click the link. And this takes you directly to our archive page where you can view the list of all of our past guests. Now, our shows are also available for download on iTunes under the podcast section and also on a website called Stitcher.com. So you just type in Question Reality Radio and you should be able to pull us up right away. If you want to find out about our future guest, that's guest till the end of the year and also way into next year, thank God, Lord have mercy, praise Jesus, we are booked until like June and I still got them coming fast and furious. So we got fantastic, incredible guests for you again next year. You want to visit the Question Reality official website, the official website. LA Talk Radio is where we air the show and have the past guests, and the future guests are on the official website, and that is questionrealityshow.com. questionrealityshow.com or questionrealityradioshow.com, either one. And as always, we have a fantastic guest for you today, and her name is Jill Demby. Now, Jill is so many things. She has so many titles, and a lot of people don't understand. Like my friends back on the East Coast, my family and friends, they have one career. They're like, unless they're in the entertainment industry. But, I come from a medical family and a law family. So when I say, oh, my friend's a writer, producer, director, actor, publisher, they're like, what the hell's going on out there? So basically you mean they're unemployed. I'm like, no, they make money from these jobs. You just don't understand. Anyway, Jill is one of these such people. She is a writer, producer, poet, storyteller, audiobook producer, a post-production supervisor, an editor, a blogger, and a celebrity interviewer. Yes, she has more titles than I do. Can you believe it? She is here with us today, and we're going to try to suck the knowledge out of her brain because she's done so many things and has so much experience. I want to get everything for the viewers today. I want to try to answer as many questions as possible on how to get these jobs and what it takes. One of the things we are gonna focus on is how to become an audiobook producer, a post-production supervisor, an editor, a blogger, and a celebrity interviewer. We just can't go into the rest of the things. We need like 3 or 4 hours. So hopefully we can talk about those professions. Now, just to tell you a little bit about Jill. She is an award-winning integrated media professional, obviously, and as a writer, producer, blogger, studio executive consultant, and celebrity interviewer, she has extensive enterprise expertise. I can't talk. I think it's that wild turkey shot I just took a half an hour ago. It's kicking in, people. It's kicking in. I'm still celebrating Halloween over here. Okay, she has extensive expertise in video biographies and behind behind-the-scenes documentaries for television and DVD releases for major studios. In addition, she's written and produced trailers for national TV campaigns and promotions for Warner Brothers, Disney, CBS, NBC, ABC, and one of my favorite channels, Lifetime. And she produced the live-action Super Bowl 2000 TV spot with Tony Hawk for Disney's Tarzan DVD. How exciting is that? Now, for her work in public television, she was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards. She won a DVD Content Gold Award for Without a Trace Season 1, one of my favorite shows. I'm still sick over them taking that off. And she was nominated for a 2009 Key Art Award for Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry collection for Warner Brothers. And she is proudest of her documentary content on the West Wing TV series. And I actually never watched the West Wing. Never. I watch every television show there is. Did not watch the West Wing. I don't know why. She did work for Imagine, John Lennon DVD and Yoko Ono, Ciphers and Code Breakers for the National Treasure DVD, and Blind Ambition, a documentary about Joan Crawford, and my favorite actress of all time, Bette Davis, for Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Oh my God, that movie. Oh, that is such a sick, scary movie. I love it. She has interviewed, and I'm hoping to talk to her about this, she has interviewed celebrities such as George Lucas, Martin Sheen, of course, Yoko Ono, George Carlin, and a ton of film directors, producers, writers, and cryptologists. I can't even imagine I couldn't even write interview questions for cryptologists. I don't even know. That's the fascinating part about being an interview. You interview so many different types of people. She's also interviewed astronauts of the ISS, International Space Station, and many others. So, my God, let's get her talking. Jill, what is
Hi.
going on?
Well, I'm the ultimate multi-hyphenate. What can I say?
You are a multi-hyphenate. My
I'm
God. Oh,
ultimate
Lord.
multi-hyphenate, yes.
But, I was talking to people. Every time I talk to people on the East Coast, and I'll say, oh, I just met this person, and he or she is and then I have to give multi-hyphenates. Most people are actors, writers, producers. You do different things in it. They just have a hard time understanding how one can do all of those jobs. Can you, first of all, explain to all, because I have listeners all over the world, and even my listeners, I was talking to a gentleman who actually called me to tell me how much he loved the show, and he called me from Slovenia, and I have a following over there. It's very weird, but he said, why is it that so many people have so many titles? How can one person have so many titles? And so you are the perfect person to answer that question. Please, let's start that off.
Well, it's interesting because I started as a film editor, but that takes you into so many domains. You start to learn so many things about how to, end a scene, where to end a scene, how to find material in hundreds of thousands of feet of film. And you become like this, it's a mystery. It's a puzzle to solve, as every film or, documentary is. Even scripted materials, you find there's always some, X piece missing, or how are you going to make that piece work? So starting as a film editor, I knew that I personally, as a personality, wasn't really bent to sit in dark rooms for the rest of my life. Right. So I knew it was a starting ground. Because I had done some camera work before that, and I wasn't really a person who I thought was going to be a camera woman either, but I had started doing that and moved into editing, where I worked with some of the greatest people ever. And
obviously you did not want to be an editor initially, I would imagine, as a child. Now, I always start the questions off with, what did you want to do as a career, as you were talking? Some people want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a fireman. What did you want to do? What did little Jill want to do when she was little? What did you want to do?
Very good question, because what I wanted to do in my heart was be a writer. That's all I wanted to do. In fact, when I was, applying to college, I said to my parents, I don't want to go to college. I want to rent a place in Cape Cod and write poetry for a year. That's what I want to do. I want to be a writer. I want to write stories because that's all I did as a kid.
Right.
I'm kind of a latchkey kid. So I would come home and I would write after school. It became my source of comfort. So, you develop your own world that way.
Did you go into college with the focus on becoming a writer and taking classes that were relative to that career?
It's interesting because I didn't come from a family who believed that was possible, or that even a career in entertainment was possible. They'd come from more of a business background, retail clothing, and the insurance business. And so for me to say to them, I'm going to take a writing degree was like anathema. So what I ended up doing was I started in psychology and the Russian language.
Wow!
Russian language studies.
Wow.
So I was doing both of those things, and then I, kind of got into writing. Then I hit film school, and I saw one film called Last Year at Marion Bad. It was a French film, and I thought, oh my goodness, pictures, words, and music, and you get to play with reality, in a way that's not in real time. And I thought, okay, there's something here. So
it was something that sparked you. It was something, and you kind of definitely knew that was the path that you wanted to do. Now,
that you could put dreams on a screen like that and just mess with the reality. I thought, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. Let me have it.
So what did you do? What was the first thing you did to start on that career path or to find out as much as you could about it?
Well, after college, you're talking?
You what did you end up, by the way, getting your degree in?
Well, I got my degree in film production, actually.
Oh, you did. You did eventually get into it. You got away from the Russian studies.
Yes.
And
much to my parents' dismay.
Oh, good. Okay,
I was making films in college.
Well, see, all right, here we go. Okay, so you're making films in college. You get out of college. What do?
Well, I had applied to graduate school, and I got into USC and London Film School. I'd spent some time in London, and I thought I'd like to go back there. So I got into both places, but I was from the East Coast, too. I grew up in New Jersey, and I went back to New Jersey to raise the financing or make some, get a job so I could start at London Film School that winter, which they would allow me to do. So that was the plan. So I went back and I got a job as a secretary to the director of productions at Madison Square Garden Productions, where they did all the shows and everything. Mm-hmm. And there, through that job, I was also editing my thesis film. I needed to find a place to edit my thesis film. And I ran into one of the people at work was the tour manager and lighting designer for the Rolling Stones. And he was friendly with this team, with my idols, who were the Maisel brothers, who had just finished Giving Shelter. And he introduced me to them. He said they like to help young filmmakers. So he made the entree to them. I went up there, I met with them. They let me use their editing rooms at night, and they were the people that gave me my first job as an assistant editor.
Ah, isn't that something?
And then I left Madison Square Garden, and I never looked back, basically. Then it was just rolling from there.
Now, we know how you got your job as an editor, but if one were to want to try to get a job as an editor, how does one get a job as an editor? Is it a lucrative career? And tell us how one would go about doing that if they wanted to.
Here's what I would do, and I kind of did it, but I didn't know I was doing it, I wanted to, work with Charlotte Zwerin and, these amazing documentary women editors in New York. And I ended up working for people who worked with her, and then I worked with her for a small period of time. But I would find a mentor. I would look at the person who you think, oh my God, I wish I could edit like that. Or look at a movie where you think is just seamless and do whatever you can to meet that editor or meet that person's assistant editor and start having coffees. And just people like to be, no matter who you are, people like to be flattered.
They love to talk about themselves. We love to talk about ourselves.
It's Hollywood. It's the, bastion of narcissism. People want to be flattered. So, and And when you're authentic about it, like a person who would be in that position would be, it's very endearing. And that's what I would do. That number one, I would try to do anything to get to that person.
Now,
and it's funny, it's easier to get to people at the top than it is for people who are middle, kind of middle range, because there's all kinds of gatekeepers.
Exactly.
And it's something. It's something that I've always done. I just go right to that person.
Exactly.
And
so with you.
You go right to that person. You become best friends with their secretary, and send them coffee and flowers all the time.
It so works.
Or whatever. And then you have an entree in. Yeah. And also the second thing, and it's much overlooked, is just forget about yourself for a second. Just be nice. Always be nice. I call it ABN, because in the long run it's going to serve you. Be nice to the person who sweeps the floor. I mean, they're going to be your boss.
You should be. It's common courtesy. Today's assistants are tomorrow's producers. Now, what are the job requirements? And you don't have to tell everything, but what are some of the job requirements and responsibilities of an editor?
Well, it depends what you're doing, because things have changed so much, Priscilla. Because when I started, I was editing real film. So there was really kind of a caste system, and it was different between documentaries and features. So if you're talking theatrical, you want to talk about theatrical features or documentaries?
Let's touch a little bit about, let's do a little film, a little television, a little documentary.
All right. So, documentary is more, was more guerrilla style, where you could be, you had an assistant editor, who helped organize the materials. And that's still true today. You would still need an assistant to, either download the stuff and still organize the materials. And then, so you need to have good organizational skills, and you need to have patience, because it requires, editing requires a lot of patience. So if you're not a person who has that, it's probably not a great field to go into. And if you're good at, seeing how to take a shortcut or truncate a scene, or figure out a more powerful way to create a scene, if you know how to, keep the drama going, build drama, build your important points, then that's probably a good place for you to be.
I'm so glad that you brought up about patience, because I have done so many short films where I've shot them, and then how when you start out, you don't know too many people that are going to do favors. It's only after you kind of do the networking and mingling thing. But I have shot so many short films, and then I tried to edit them, and I don't have patience, so they're just sitting on my shelf. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. And it's like, oh my God, I spent all this money shooting these films, and now I hate it. I can't edit it. And then you get excited, move on to another project. So you always plan on going back. But I'm so glad that you said patience. That is so important being an editor. If you don't have it, oh Lord, try to find a friend, or try to find someone in editing school or something.
Exactly.
Now, how did starting out? Popular software for editing, by the way, that you can take classes in school. What is that called? What is that? Oh crap! There's a editing software that's.
Well, I mean, there's several systems that my editors work with, and there's the Final Cut Pro. There's the Mac base, and then there's the Avid based system.
Yes.
Those are the two big ones, and everyone's hating the new version of Final Cut Pro. So I don't know what's going to happen with that.
I heard that. Now, how did starting out as a filmmaker or a film editor shape your storytelling skills? What, if you do have to start out editing your own stuff, what can you look forward to? I mean, if you don't have patience and you have to do it because you don't have anybody else, you can look forward to it being a process that is going to be, I guess, lucrative to you in the end, because it will help you to shape your storytelling skills. How did it do that for you?
It shaped it, and it shaped my storytelling skills in many ways. In that, when you how it's just, you can see how less is more. That you start to see immediately, if you're really good at it, that you don't need that additional scene, or that you can find an more effective way to the dramatic point without having those 3 shots in a row. I mean, that's the best way I can.
Oh my God, I hated cutting anything, Jill. It's like, no, that's good. No, that's good. No, that's good. I could not make the decision because I thought all of them. That's
the thing about it. It's constant decision making.
Yes.
Constant. And then you have to get back and take a big picture look at it. And when you're so close to the footage for so many months on end, that can be difficult. And you have to sometimes just leave it alone and then go back to it.
Yeah.
And then you're clear and you go, oh my gosh, I can drop this whole 5 minutes out,
Right.
You get it, and also
the hard thing is coming back to it, though, Jill, because I haven't gone back to my films that I did in 1999 and 2000. But continuity is so important. How many times do we look at films or television? I notice it right away. I don't know about you, but I can spot when there's a continuity issue immediately. It's like a big red flag, and I just focus on it, and then I get irritated. But editors have a deadline that they have to meet. And then it's like, is it the job of the script supervisor who's supposed to take a picture before the scene starts and then after, and then that helps the editor, and then when you're doing a film, you need a script supervisor because they actually work with the editor afterward. Oh, it's a process. People don't realize how much, especially American Idol. I mean, they get thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of footage. Can you imagine what the editors go through on American Idol?
I can. Having been through, like one film I worked on was, it was 700,000 feet of film. It's crazy. Talk about organizing and boxing that baby up,
Yeah. So film editors, if you want to be a film editor, God bless you. Not for me, but it takes a special person, I would think, that they paid extra.
And it is, it used to be quite lucrative. I mean, I was in both unions, East Coast and West Coast.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I mean, I think, the unions are getting, it's been a little tougher, but it can be, can be lucrative.
It depends what kind of project you work on, I would imagine.
It depends. Yeah, it depends.
Now, you also have been an audiobook producer. Now, this is relatively a new thing for me. I've never had an audiobook producer on. Let's talk again about how do you get a job as an audiobook producer? Is it a lucrative career? And what are the job requirements?
That was kind of an interesting, you never know how things happen kind of story. Yeah. I remember I was interviewing I had just started producing at KCET, and then, our show got canceled, and then I was interviewing for a job, something like some unauthorized celebrity biography, and I'd never done anything kind of cheesy like that. And I said to myself, God, please don't make me have to do this job. And I remember thinking that thought. And I had a friend who was a really good sound editor, had a sound editing company, who called me and just at that moment said, look, we're building a new business on our business, and we're doing an audio publishing company. Why don't you come and run it? We know you like literature and writing and reading. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay.
Okay.
So I actually started up an audio publishing company as a division of this sound editing company in Hollywood. Very successful sound design company called Sound Deluxe. So I started an arm of their company, which was an audio publishing company, and that's how I got a job as an audio producer. Now, I had worked with voiceover talent before, in documentaries and all that, and, done some directing of voiceover talent. And I also, for the TV promotions I'd worked with Don LaFontaine, The Voice.
Yes! I love it.
May he rest in peace. What a great guy. So I'd had voiceover talent, and I loved working with the voice guys. I always loved it. So it was really kind of a perfect fit for me, and I love books. So I just dove in, and within 6 months I was, licensing the rights to bestsellers and with using celebrity talent. So that's how I got a job as an audio producer. I basically
you are a trip. I'm telling you, the way you fall into these jobs, it's like you are definitely a lucky person. Now, are there a lot of audiobook producers? Is this a lucrative career? Is this something, if you have a good voice, you can say, hey, I'm going to go get a book and make it a...
Well, I have to tell you, I mean, this was in the early 90s, and I did it through the late 90s, and I only do a little bit of it now. I mean, I still work for Simon & Schuster, and I just did a couple of books for them last year, but I don't do the volume I used to do. So I can only really speak for back then, so I'm not giving you a current picture of what it's like. But back then, there was always audiobooks, and especially readers for the blind. And
right.
I think that the actors did pretty well, but you're not gonna, no, you're not gonna make your pot of cash doing that. In fact, even the celebrities that I worked with weren't making a ton for these books, but they loved doing it. And as we look at it, a day in 5 hours in the studio for what they get is fantastic money, but compared to what they're used to getting for other things,
yeah,
it's not. But they love doing it, So there's something about a celebrity coming into a studio and not having to worry about their hair, and they can come in sweat clothes,
right? Mm-hmm.
Spend a day or two in the booth and have a good time, basically.
So this is a great job for a voiceover artist or someone who loves.
Oh yeah, it's very good. Yeah, I mean, at the time when I was doing it, like in the '90s, they only wanted to use celebrities, which was really too bad because there were so many great, like unabridged readers, and at that time they were doing a lot of abridged. Now they're back to doing unabridged. But so how you get one? I guess I'm not the best.
It's beyond me. Okay, we're going to have to find out about that in case anybody. I would imagine if you do voiceovers, you could contact a publishing company.
Same thing. You contact the publishers.
Process.
Right. You contact the publishers. Find books you really like, and send your voice in as an audition.
Or type it in Google. I'm sure
exactly.
Google knows everything. Now, you also worked as a post-production supervisor.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Again, let's do it again. How did you get that job? Is it a lucrative career? And what are some of the requirements and responsibilities of being a post?
Well, I really only had one technically, post-production supervising job, and that came after years of being in post-production as a sound editor, music editor, picture editor, assistant editor. I've done all the editorial tasks, which was really helpful because you really need to know how all those pieces work together and how the workflow of all those pieces work together. And now, granted, when I was post-production supervisor, we were still working in film. And now there's different workflows. So a person doing it today needs to be very knowledgeable about digital workflows and how the new digital cameras work into the post workflows, because each camera has a different thing, that a different way it's going to work into your editorial workflow. And you need to be really knowledgeable about how those little digital P2 cards or whatever cards you're using are going to then work into your editorial workflow. You also need to, be very, savvy about sound editing and sound effects editors and mix schedules and how that works into the whole thing. You've got to have a big picture view of the post process through delivery of your materials, whether it's video, DVD, TV, film,
So working a job as an editor, starting out, is
very helpful.
It's the career path that could lead to being a post-production supervisor.
Yes, because if you want to go into management in post, that's the next step, would be to get yourself a post-production supervisor, because then you're managing teams of people and you're managing the financial aspect of it as well. So it's got, producer skills in there, but it's also management of teams, of your editorial teams, your picture, your music, your sound, and looking and, also keeping on top of what the rights, the rights with your music. And if you have any, ADR to do, any voice, revoicing of, I'm talking features here, features in TV. If you've had any revoicing to do with the talent, you have to bring them back.
Now, is it the same, pretty much the same job requirements and responsibilities on, say, film, television, documentaries? Pretty much the same skills, or do they vary?
Well, there's similar skills, but obviously in television series there's a volume, and so you can gang things together, so you need to be savvy about how can I do this effectively on the budget that I have? How can I really make it work? How do I gang the shows together, and so there's no lag time?
Hello? Hello? Oh my gosh, something happened and my guest is MIA. I don't know if I'm still recording, but hopefully we'll get my guest back in just seconds. So if anybody is listening, I'm sure we'll get my guest back in a second. Okay, we're almost back. These things happen. Please stand by, everybody. And if you can hear me talking, I just want to let you know that Jill probably does not realize that we have lost her. And
Hi, Jill Demby, guest 64154.
Okay, well, while Ronan is trying to get her back, I just wanted to tell you how excited I am because my birthday is coming up very, very soon, and I'm having a huge birthday bash this Saturday. It is going to be awesome, and we're calling again. Please, these things happen in radio and on television, but in radio. And I hope she notices that I'm not talking to her. So as soon as she notices it, we'll have her back. But just to let you know, we're having a big bash.
Hi, this is Jill Demby, guest.
Very excited. Very, very excited about the birthday party. We're going to have a Marilyn Monroe impersonator. I'm having Bollywood dancers. I'm having, my goodness, there's going to be a cabaret act. The only thing I'm not going to have is a male stripper. A male stripper, which everybody seems to be requesting. Okay, we are going to play a song, and when we get back, hopefully we can get a hold of Jill. So we are going to showcase Val Macias and her lovers, and we'll get right back with Jill. Please stand by. Don't leave.
You are listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
Certain this will turn out one way or another. Please don't you of all attach all of that bother. There's something that happens when all of this art is what we meant it to be. What we meant it to be, meant it to be. Young
You're listening to Question Reality. Question Reality with Priscilla Leona. Priscilla Leona. Only on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, we are back with Jill Demby. My God, we just had a crisis situation, but we are back and we are going to pick it up right where we left off. Jill, I am so sorry that we had this little situation.
Oh, no problem.
These things happen. Your battery died.
My battery died on my landline. And I couldn't recharge fast enough.
I didn't know.
Well, no, you know what? Because it's a cordless. It was cordless.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that has happened.
That was the problem.
That's been a long time since I had a cordless phone. I tell you, I don't even use the home phone anymore. So I can't even remember the last time that happened, but I remember that used to suck. Be talking and then the battery died. Well, you know, many things were happening while you were away. We started playing some music, and then I was talking up a storm about my birthday party trying to cover. So for those of you, we are so sorry for whatever you heard besides Jill, but we're picking it up right now. The last we left off, we were talking to Jill. She was talking with us about the job requirements of being a post-production supervisor. Hopefully you did get information from her on that. We are going to move on to what I find was your most exciting job, and that is a celebrity interviewer. My God, that is so exciting. Tell us this. Now, how, for those who want to be an interviewer, whether it's a radio host, interviewing on radio or television, why don't you tell us what the job requirements are and what are the responsibilities of a celebrity interviewer, and how the heck do you get from a regular interviewer to a celebrity interviewer where you do get to interview A-list stars? Well,
the way that I became a celebrity interviewer was that I was using they were content for the documentaries I was creating for either behind the scenes documentaries for DVD or the biographies I was doing for Lifetime. So they just happened, they were actors on the TV show or actors on the film, or actors who knew the person I was doing the biography about. So I wasn't just a celebrity interviewer. I always used them in the context of the narrative or the story I was doing. So it was a little different than, just someone sitting down on E, with a celebrity interview. I didn't do that. I was always behind the camera, interviewing them with pointed questions that would build the story that I needed to tell for the documentary, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So
I can't tell you how to get a job as a celebrity interviewer. But actually, I probably can. Go to work for a PR firm.
Exactly.
Because they do all those media, all the media for, big talent and for studios.
Well,
and you'll go to all those red carpet events, and you'll get to interview celebrities on the red carpet, or go to work for E.
Or go to work. There you go. If you're lucky to get that. Now you interviewed. Let's talk about George Lucas. How did you come upon the great honor and opportunity to work with George Lucas? Interview George.
I was doing an intimate portrait for Lifetime, and it was on the actress Cindy Williams of Laverne and Shirley.
Yes, love it.
And as you recall, he did, George's, one of his first movies, right? So I went up to Lucasfilm and I interviewed him in his office, and that's how that came about.
Oh, did you feel?
He's a wonderful man.
I cannot.
Wonderful man.
I know he seems like it, and I'm just so excited that he just signed that deal so we can get to see another Star Wars. Oh yeah.
I know. Amazing.
Now, what did you find most interesting about him while you were doing the interview?
That he's just, he's like a regular guy. He puts his pants on in the morning just like we do, and there was no artifice about him. No. Any of the things that he doesn't live in Hollywood either for a reason. And he's just like a regular guy who's passionate about what he does and really wants to serve people and inspire and have people be inspired by what he does, you know. And he's a big Joseph Campbell fan, you know, belief in, you know, follow your bliss. And this is a guy who's totally followed his bliss and makes movies about that.
Now,
you know?
speaking about Bliss, who seems to be always in a state of her bliss, Yoko Ono. What?
Yes.
Give me the scoop. I have always found her to be so odd and yet mysterious and yet haunting and just, I don't know, it's just always been something like, wow, she just seems like outside the box, outside the universe. Tell me, what is she really like?
She's a really interesting person. You know, it's funny, when I was going to New York, flying to New York to interview her, it was really hard to get an interview with her because she's so busy, you know, and so they canceled the interview.
What does she do? Why is she so busy?
Well, you know what? She manages his legacy.
Oh,
and that's a full-time job. When you think about, you know, I always felt for her in a way because she's very talented. You know, if you've seen any of her work, you know, she's really a talented woman. And you may not like, you know, like some of the screeching music that she did.
Yeah, not vocally.
When I found out,
I'm not with you on the vocal talent there.
Well, you know what? I have to tell you something. I wasn't either until I found out what that was about.
What?
And what that was about is she grew up in a very wealthy family, and they had all kinds of, you know, butlers and maids and people taking care of the house. And the women, some of the women, called them maids or whatever they were, they would give birth, and she was replicating the noises that they would make because she was allowed to go over to that side of the house. She would listen through the walls, and then that same thing that disturbed me before became very haunting in a way that, wow. I mean, I just saw, you know, like your perception of something changes.
Yeah.
And it totally changed from, you know, kind of hearing that story. But no, she's kind of cool and, you know, like a little aloof. She doesn't like to get emotional, but she's very passionate. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, kind of just has there's sort of a, you know, a coolness about her, even though she's an incredibly passionate individual.
Well, I admire the fact that she wasn't like a lot of celebrity wives where they end up marrying 5-6 more men after they either are widowed or divorced their iconic husband. I mean, she really has stayed loyal. She hasn't, as far as I know, she hasn't gotten married, and I've never seen anything in the news about her having a boyfriend or anything. So if she's doing it, she's doing it on the down low. But I really kind of always admired that it seems like she is holding him in such high self-esteem that no one can compare to him. Is that...
Seriously, yeah, seriously, and I think that's true. I mean, I don't know what her social life is like, but I'm sure she, you know.
Well, we've never heard about it. Yeah, we've never heard about it in a negative. It's not something where we go, oh my God, you know, like Paul McCartney, God bless him. He's in the news, you know, was in the news quite frequently for his little prenup things. But with Yoko, I mean, you got to admire her. She really has honored this man's memory by not marrying again. I know that. She seems cool. She seems very, 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 very interesting. I would love to meet her one day. But let's talk about the last thing that I want to talk about. What is going on with you now? You have some upcoming books and audio programs. What are you?
Yes, I do.
What are you doing? What do you got coming up?
Well, I'm working on a book called the tentatively titled How to Give and Get Star Quality Interviews.
I need that book.
Yeah, tips from a celebrity interviewer. So I hope that'll be really powerful for people because, you know, I like to think of interviewing as really just having a conversation. You know, have a cup of tea with me, let's talk, that kind of thing. So I never see it as a Q&A. So people have told me they love talking to me. So I feel I owe it to the world to write this book. So, and I think it'll be very helpful to people because interviews are very powerful and getting to your story. You know, excising your story and using it for a lot of different purposes.
Well, I don't really really have any secrets other than I do extensive research on whoever's coming on the show. I mean, I really I write questions specifically to who's coming on. My interview process is I find out who's going to come on. Usually they're booked through a PR person, or like I met you, I found you to be very interesting, and I do research on the bio and et cetera, and then I write questions based on that I think would be interesting. I also, when I posted, the fans write in and they ask me questions, so I ask questions based on what the emails that I get. So what? And then I just have an interview, just like I'm talking, but I try to focus on the career because that is what my show is about. The premise is to get information out there for people who are pursuing a career in entertainment. What do you feel are some well-kept interview secrets that maybe even I don't know about? Yeah, like I know everything. What are some well-kept interview secrets?
Well, I'll tell you, here's what I like to find. I mean, I like to find what I call the gold, the person's gold. It's the thing that you don't know about that person. You know, it's like that little nugget that, oh, really, you were Siamese twins? You know, it's kind of like you ask that question that gets that, and then you kind of go from there because you find that some of these things that you don't know about people, and because they lead such public lives, are the very things that may have helped shape who they are today. And I like to dig for what makes people tick. And that's really, kind of signatures of my interviews. And they get very, you get like, the thing that makes your heart beat faster, basically.
So
give you the chills a little bit.
What? Other than what I've already stated, which is my way to prepare for an interview, what do you feel is the best way to prepare for an interview?
Well, certainly research, for sure. But I feel like what's really important is the listening aspect of it, that you always have to have, you have to have those third set of ears, because being a really great interviewer, I think you have to have the ability to be connected and detached at the same time, because you've always got to be listening for that other storyline that may be happening right behind the question that you ask, and then you have to be able to immediately jump into that and ask that question.
That's true. Now, I always have concern with time because our show is only on 50 minutes. And thank God I've not gotten not too many people that when I ask them a question, they go on forever. But I have had a couple people that have done that. And I have a very hard time interrupting people because that's not something that I find respectful. I don't like to do it. But I find that I actually have to because I'm only allotted a certain amount of time for a person to answer because I need to keep it moving on. How do you deal with that? I hate it. Sometimes if they're talking, I have to jump in there and it sounds like I'm interrupting, but I don't mean to interrupt, but I got to move on because I'm not going to get to the stuff that I need to do to help promote them as a person. What do you?
I know. That's always a toughie because you never have enough time. I always find myself in these situations where I have 20 minutes, but I need 45.
Right.
So I just very politely, because it's very hard. I try to take something that they've said, the tail of the last sentence they've said, and oh, I know that's so interesting about what you just said, but unfortunately, I'd love to do all of it, but we can't. You just find, it's like being my years as an editor, finding that perfect editorial segue.
Yeah.
Into the out,
Exactly. That's a hard one because people start talking and it's like they're very passionate and I don't want to stop them, but I've only got 1 minute and we got to move on. So it's very, very difficult. Right. So I always feel really, really bad about doing that. Speaking of which, you're not going to believe this, but it's 5:50 and the interview is over.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
We have 20 more questions that I wrote for you. So we're going to have to bring you back next year, Jill. Would you come back?
We're going
to have to bring back we've got 20 more questions. My God.
Have to do it on overtime.
We do, exactly. Now, we want to make sure everybody can find you. So your website is JillDembyGuest.com. That's JillDembyGuest. You can find out everything about Jill on her website. She is also on YouTube and has little vignettes, I believe, of some of her interviews and some of her work. You can find her on YouTube at Jill Demby Guest as well. She's on LinkedIn under Jill Demby Guest, and she's on yourinterviewtips.com and thedailyscream.com. She's everywhere. She has as many websites as she does titles, hyphenated titles. So, but go to JillDembyGuest.com and find out more. She's a interesting creature. She is a special, magical, little interesting creature, and God bless you for having so many careers.
Thank you.
Because, the more careers you have, the more interesting you are. That's my theory. Thank you so much, Jill. So, tell your fans goodbye and that you'll be with us next year.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's been delightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next week. Oh, actually, not next week because it's my birthday party, and I'm not doing a show, but we'll see you the week after on Question Reality. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great week. Bye.
You're listening to Question Reality. Question Reality with Priscilla Leona. Only on LA Talk Radio.